Bill Szymczyk had one condition on working with the Eagles. Remember, he joined on as producer and then became their full-time producer right until the end, for the most part. But he joined on with On the Border. But before he told the Eagles he could do the project, there was one big condition. We're going to talk about that, as well as him walking into when he was working in studios in New York in his early years, walking in on Gerry Goffin and Carole King recording. And a lot more on this clip with Bill Szymczyk on Rock History Music. When Glyn Johns stopped working with him and he says, "Better you than me," and you gave him a call, were you nervous making that call? Did you know him at that point? You knew of him.
Oh, I knew him. I knew him well. I'd met him a couple times. When I was in New York before moving to LA, my two idols, if you were Tom Dowd because of the R&B, Atlantic Records R&B stuff, and Glyn Johns because of the bombast of the English rock and roll. And forever I've been trying to marry those two things up. So I had met him a couple times on a trip to England, and he knew who I was, and obviously I knew who he was. And so when the Eagles approached me to do them, I said, I'll do it on one. When I said, I'll do it on one condition, I got to call Glyn and clear it with him. And that was the gist of the conversation. Better you than me, mate.
Did you, when you came in, I mean, the songs were all done, so you get a chance to, are you listed, because I know you're listed at, how many did he end up doing? Best of My Love, that was him still.
He got two, Best of My Love and You Never Cry Like a Lover. Those were two cuts that he had on the record, and I had all the rest.
So you heard his takes then. Did you ever hear his takes on everything?
Some. I heard some. I heard On the Border. I heard, I can't remember what else. I mean, but by then they had stopped recording with Glyn, and they'd done a couple of tours. So there wasn't just directly from Glyn to me. And so they actually came up with a couple, 2-3 more songs that were not done in London before we got together. So, I mean, it was like maybe only about 3 or 4 tunes that they had done in England and then just dropped, and then I redid them. Whereas there's about 3 or 4 or 5 brand new things. Already Gone and James Dean were both new to the recording.
Well, you had great circumstances. Like, I mean, when you were in New York and you were talking about, Goffin and King were there, and you walked into that must have, and even the article that quotes you says, to this day when he talks about it, there's excitement in his voice, and I love seeing that.
Yeah, well, like the very first day in my first recording studio in February of 1964. The owner of the studio, Dick Charles, said, "Well, why don't you just go in the control room and be a fly on the wall and see what we do here?" And so I did. And what they did there that day was Gerry Goffin was in the control room producing, and Carole was singing and playing piano. It was like, oh, okay, this is good.
Crazy. And Diamond was there. It's like, it's crazy the amount of. I mean, you did the work, you got in the room. I know you say you were lucky sometimes, but I'm a big believer of. Well, you're not being generous enough to yourself. But I people say you're lucky, not you. People tell me, "Oh, you're lucky." I'm going, yeah, that's part of it. But I do believe you kind of have to do the work, or they must see something, because you were the victim of great circumstances. But if you were a nincompoop, you wouldn't have been there.
That's true. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Earthquakes comes up in your bios, and I remember lying in bed in Vancouver when I lived there. I still work in radio in Vancouver. I'm in Calgary. I do it long distance. And I remember the first time I felt a major earthquake. I remember thinking, this is so mumuch bigger than me. I don't want to live here anymore. And I did move. One of the reasons I moved. Yeah. So what was it for you? Are you going this, because that was the most uncomfortable feeling I've ever had in my life. And I'm going, no, I'm okay. I don't care if people laugh at me. I'm not interested in this.
Right. It scared the hell out of me. And I had if you talk about splurging, I had gotten my first royalty check from ABC after they moved me to LA, and they gave me, like a 1% override or something like that. And I got my first royalty check from the James Gangs and B.B. King's albums. and that was a down payment on a house. That was in December. February, the earthquake happened, and the house went for sale. Boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
You were
I lived in a rented house in Denver.
We're going to have a lot more from Bill Szymczyk coming up tomorrow. Every day for the next about a week and a half, we'll have a different clip from Bill. If you're a Patreon member, you'll have access to all the clips early. There'll be links in the description where you can join our Patreon. If you want to support the channel in other ways, there are links there as well. You can make a PayPal donation. But really, like our videos, share our videos, comment on them, subscribe to the channel, spread the word for us. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music.